to your very, very first flipped video. We're going to be doing this week and with this unit so that you guys, I'm trying out something a little bit different here, as I told you guys. We're doing, instead of reading, you get to hear my lovely voice talking you through some of the concepts that we're going to be hitting this week. So in the effort that we're just trying to mix it up, see how it goes. So this unit, this week, we are focusing on testing and individual differences, which is what your best friend calls it. Another way to think about this is intelligence. It's about how we measure who is smart and who is not. That is what we are working on this week. Couple ground rules about how this is going to work, guys. So at the start of every video, I'm trying to keep them 5 to 15 minutes in length. I will tell you a few key terms that we are going to hit. I will also give you the pages in your best friend that we are focusing on for this particular video, so you can follow along in your best friend if that is your cup of tea. A few things, a few of the questions in your reading guide, I may not answer in full during this discussion, so you'll have to go back through to your best friend and figure out exactly what those are. The vast majority of them, 95%, I will, but occasionally you're going to need to do a little bit of reading to get yourself caught up and fully aware and understanding of all this stuff. But that's why I give you the page numbers, so you know what the heck is going on and where the heck to look for these answers. So with that being said, we're going to get after it. Before we start anything else today, earlier, you were thinking about what exactly is intelligence, and that is a question that plagues a variety of psychologists, a question that you will be considering, and a question that we will tackle as we move through this unit. Psychologists have come up with a decent answer for what intelligence is. They will call it, if you ask a professional psychologist, the ability to learn from experience, to solve problems, and to use your knowledge that you already have, things you've already learned, to adapt to new, different situations. How can you take what you know, what you are able to do, and apply it in the world in a functional, real way? One note, guys, stepping back for a sec as I walk you through this. If you need to pause the video at any point to jot down a definition, go ahead, do so. I highly recommend it, actually. This is meant so that I give you the definitions here so that you can pause whenever and jot the stuff down. That's your definition of intelligence. Intelligent tests, then, are a way that we assess someone's mental abilities and compare them to others. Both parts of that definition are important. It's not just how smart are you in a vacuum. It's how smart are you compared to the people around your class. One last thing about this is we design intelligent tests. We need to be aware of a thing called reification. That's that italicized word at the bottom here. Reification is the attempt to quantify, to assign a number to something that cannot really be quantified. Intelligence is an abstract and is intelligence that have been developed over the years. We're going to go through them right now. The first one is the theory of general intelligence. This is the belief in G, just the letter G, an underlying factor that indicates intelligence and leads to success on all intelligence tests. This was developed by a guy named Charles Spearman. You guys will remember the concept of factor analysis from our personality unit. This was sorting a whole lot of different traits and finding which ones are closely related to each other and which one are not. When we looked at big 5 factors, we had a category of traits that was extroversion, a category of traits that was agreeableness, so on and so forth. Spearman found a category of traits that he called G, which again is just general intelligence. This is not necessarily a fully well accepted. People don't totally buy into this concept these days. We think that in quote-unquote intelligence is much more complicated than this, but studies have shown some correlation between Spearman's G and performance on other intelligence tests. This is especially true when it comes to solving new problems. G is correlating. G does not correlate with success at some more everyday familiar things like forming relationships, making decisions as a parent, making decisions in the workplace a lot of times. These kind of day-to-day things that we sort of evolutionarily need to do, G is not great at correlating with. Theory number 2, this man named Howard Gardner came up with a theory of multiple intelligences. Gardner said, look, different people are good at different things. And to say that we have one thing that is underlying this concept of G, that's not totally accurate. Instead, different people are good at different stuff. Some people might be musical. I'm running around this with my mouse, circling musical right now. You might be really good at instrument. It might be you might have really perfect pitch. You can understand music notes really easily. You have musical intelligence. Some people might body and he keeps going on. And related to this is the concept of savant syndrome. So you can have a person who is generally limited in mental ability scores, whose G might be very low, but they might score extremely highly in one of these. It's common, for example, to see folks who have autism be extremely smart in one of these. So, for example, someone who is autistic and it might struggle in school, might need help, extra help, that kind of thing, might be very spatially smart. They might be extremely good at drawing, or they might be extremely good at playing an instrument. Different people have different intelligences is the idea here. One other thing about this, Gardner's theory does not account for skills practiced over extremely long periods of time. So your reading guide is going to ask about a 10-year theory. This is the idea that you get really good at something if you practice it over and over and over for 10 years. Malcolm Gladwell, a sort of psychological journalist, has the idea that you need to practice something for 10,000 hours to get good at it. That kind of is in tension with, sort of contradicts Gardner's theory. Again, none of these are perfect. Third theory is Sternberg's 3 intelligences. Sternberg agreed with Gardner that you have multiple intelligences, but he thought, nah, we don't need 8. We can solving conflict with each other. So, for example, analytical intelligence, those are the scientists, the math people of the world. They like problems with one right answer, and they can deduce it using evidence very quickly. Creative intelligence is like sort of the more what we would consider left brain folks, the creative types, the musicians, the writers, that kind of stuff. And practical intelligence, this is good at managing, juggling day-to-day tasks. It's when you have like a manager in the workplace, they need to have a high degree of practical intelligence, just the ability to manage people, to do a variety of tasks, and to do them competently, to do them well enough to get by. The last theory, and this is separate from these 3, is that psychologists still say this is not by go to talk to and you feel like they really get you, they understand you. That friend probably has a high level of emotional intelligence. One note about this is some psychologists don't really think emotional intelligence is a valid concept. They think it's stretching the concept of intelligence, quote unquote, too far, and that instead what the emotional intelligence is just people who get other people, who are good at understanding that kind of thing. That is it for our first video. Make sure you answer the question